makeup or anything. Well, I might need a comb.
Yeah, good lighting and stuff. So I'm pretty happy to have Andy here with us today. So I'm gonna do like a quick interview before the class starts. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for coming down from Seattle.
Really good workshop. Highly recommended. So, so the first question is that you've been doing a lot of workshop from China, US, and Europe. And you're going to England this
England
year.
And Scotland and Spain.
Yeah, so how many workshops have you done, like approximately?
Oh boy, approximately, I would say, well, I teach about a dozen to 14 a year, and I've been doing it for 10 years, so that's almost 150 or so plus workshops. Yeah.
Is there like a most common question you see in the students?
Well, they always want to know what colors you use, for whatever reason. They're obsessed with what colors you're mixing. But I think one of the main things that pops up is, or one of the main problems with them is they're always saying, how do you know when you have enough paint? When they're mixing the puddles, as you've seen in this workshop, how important that is to have that nice wet wash so you can just kind of keep working from a wet edge. So that's just something that you have to get your brushes wet and get used to. After a little while, you look at your palette and you have enough paint there. So, but that's an issue that crops up a lot with them too. And just, also judging the wetness of the paper and how much it's going to lighten when it's dry, all that kind of, there are a lot of questions that they can, if once they paint a while, they'll figure out for themselves, but when they're watching me paint, they're always, kind of amazed at seeing how dark I put something on and then how light it is after it dries,
Yeah, experience.
Definitely. Yep, just practice and don't always paint. Like I said in here, you don't have to do a painting. Just mixing puddles and playing around with your brush and seeing what happens, and you learn a lot doing that too.
Yeah. So because all this workshop is like open for public, so people with all different skill level come here. So if you can put like a prerequisite class before your workshop, what do you think it's gonna be?
Well, because I let beginners come in here because of, I do some basic wash techniques, and I hate to discourage, I just want them to be familiar with the paint and supplies and stuff. I don't want to answer too many questions about that. But if there was a prerequisite, it would be nice to have a drawing class. I think that's, if there was a prerequisite class, a drawing class, because that's the thing that really, when we're doing lessons and, they're just drawing and erasing, and they're just not comfortable with their drawing skills, and that hinders them. And when you're not comfortable with your drawing skills, that kind of feeds into the painting process too. You're unsure of your drawing, so then you're timid when you're painting it too. It doesn't lend itself to painting fast and confidently. So I think a good drawing class would be a nice prerequisite.
Yeah, so practice drawing as well.
For sure, sketch whenever you can. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I got quite a few students asking me, they have a question about like finding subject to paint. Like a lot of people say they don't know what subject to paint, and in the cases they found the subject, it's not really suitable for painting. It's like a huge, like crazy mountain top with a lot of details and cloud roaming in. It's a beautiful photo, but it's not necessarily suitable for painting. So what suggestion do you have?
Just pick something with fewer, simpler shapes. Like you said, most of the students that when they're going to try and find something to paint, I mentioned that earlier too, you're just setting yourself up for failure. You're coming in with a photograph that has way too much going on, and they tend to almost, I call them calendar photos. They bring them in and they're so over the top like pretty. And the colors have been oversaturated and stuff, and they bring these in and try and paint them, and they're just a recipe for disaster. And I think part of the reason they bring that in is because they're not comfortable painting structures or boats and streets. If you look at my work, there's a lot of even though there's nature and then trees and hills and stuff, but there's usually a barn or a harbor with boats. There's something, a structure that has a definite shape. You know, when all the shapes in your scene are just pure landscape and it's just trees and shrubs and clouds and stuff, they're hard to define, you know, and I think people tend to gravitate towards those for paintings because they don't want to draw too much. But again, I don't think they necessarily make the best paintings as far as I'm concerned. You know, fewer, simpler, stronger shapes, and zoom in, you know, that don't include so much. Kind of crop when you have a good photo. See what happens when you just kind of crop into a little quarter size of it or something. It usually makes a better painting.
How long have you been doing the fine art business?
I started painting over 20 years ago. You know, I was doing medical illustration for a long time, and I still do some medical illustration. I'm working on a knee surgery book right now too. So I'm burning the candle at both ends a little bit, but not much. I just don't have time anymore. You know, I take a project here and there. But yeah, I started painting about 20 years ago, and at first it was just for fun, you know, just for me. But probably, you know, 15 years ago, I started saying, you know, maybe I can make a go of this thing and make it happen. And that's about the same time I started, you know, getting into shows and getting asked to teach and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Do you see a shift in the fine art business in terms of today? And because when you started, there's not a lot of like social medias and stuff. It's not the same.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you still have like dial-up mode, and that sound like Transformer.
Yeah, you know, back when I first started, it was, I mean, your main source of exposure to the world was galleries and magazines. You had to hope you could get into one. And you know, the gallery scene for watercolor artists is great. You know, oil is still king, and probably always will be. But you know, so despite the galleries, you know, I got into a few magazine articles, and that raised my profile a little bit, and more people started to know who I was. But now, like you said, with social media, my gosh, that's the biggest change, I think, in the world of art in general, and watercolor specifically, I think, because it's a really popular medium all around the world. You know, as soon as I was on Instagram and Facebook, I've got so many friends, you know, China with WeChat, and India and Iran and Russia, and, you know, just all over the place, really good watercolor artists. And now we have this platform to share our work, and I've gotten invited to shows, you know, in Greece and Ukraine, and you know, Fabriano always has those big events, and they start, you know, promoting those on social media, and I'm in that this year too. So there's just a lot more opportunities that way for artists now, which is great. You know, it's a lot more work to try and keep up on. You have this need not just to paint, but to post every day or something. You know, so but it's a necessary evil, but it's fun. I embrace it, and you know.
And that's how I found you too.
Oh really? On social media.
That's true.
You've been a fan of mine.
Yeah, because I don't read much, so I don't read like watercolor magazine and stuff. So.
No, me either. There's some good ones and not so good ones, but
so that was great.
Cool.
Do you think your medical illustration background help you with your watercolor, or they're really different?
I think it's vice versa. I think because I had the art background first and then became a medical illustrator, it was kind of funny when the computer first took over. I noticed it was almost like the only thing that the new medical illustrators and you know, coming out of school knew how to do was Photoshop, and their work was just really garish. I mean, it's gotten a lot better now, but there was, for a long time, medical illustrators were painting and airbrushing and charcoal and stuff, and there was an artistic elegance to a lot of the work, and then all of a sudden it was all digital, and like I said, all of a sudden it was like, oh my god, red heart and yellow fat and blue veins, you know, and there was not a whole lot of subtlety in it. And, but now I think things have gotten better. But my art background, I think, helped me. Even as I was learning Photoshop, I wasn't, because I had the art background, the fine art background, I was trying to still use a new tool, a digital tool, but make it look like I had airbrushed it or drew it, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's move on to some lighter questions. So
the heavy work's over.
Yeah. Do you listen to anything when you paint, like music or whatever?
Yeah, I usually have music on in the background. I've never been a big classical music fan that much, so I just kind of, you know, I grew up in the 70s, and so kind of that light, a lot of that light 70s rock and stuff like that. Not rock, but you know, just kind of I don't mind if it has vocals and stuff in it too, but I usually have some kind of music on in the background.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, not like heavy metal though. Like
no. And I can't listen to podcasts and stuff too. I need to focus on the painting. Right. I have people that have earbuds in and they're listening to podcasts. I'm like, how can you concentrate on two things at once? Yeah, seriously. No, I can't do that.
All right. So, what's your favorite food?
I don't know. I mean, I can't, because I travel all over the world. I've had some really good food, everywhere. I'm not picky, but usually if we go to a restaurant, I end up getting a nice filet steak. Still, nice. That's kind of my guilty pleasure. Yeah, but I love it all. I love Italian pasta and stuff. Obviously, it shows. So.
It's not that bad. It's not at all. Yeah. So, what's your hobby aside from art?
Oh man, I just, sounds lazy, but I just love movies. I've always loved movies. I can't just, I paint a lot late at night, or if I'm working on a medical project, a lot of times I'll just sit and have a glass of wine and, find something to watch, a movie, and even a guilty pleasure, sneaking away to a movie theater in the middle of the day, I'm watching a movie. I like that. So yeah, I've just, ever since I was, a young kid, saw Star Wars for the first time and Jaws and everything. I was hooked right away, and now I'm just, if I wasn't an artist, I'd probably try to find something to do in the movie industry.
So what's the best movie, what's your favorite movie, in terms of visually?
I would say, Hitchcock was so brilliant at framing his scene. Rear Window is such a great movie. It's Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's laid up. He's in a wheelchair, and so all he can do is look out his back window at his all of his neighbors in this little New York neighborhood. And at first it starts out all lighthearted, and his girlfriend is kind of annoyed because he's just sitting there. She calls him a peeping Tom and stuff, but he has nothing else to do, and he's sitting, and then he starts to get suspicions about something weird happening in one of his neighbor's house, and then he starts suspecting that he murdered his wife, and it's just awesome. It's really good. There's so many great ones. There's some movies that, maybe not the whole movie visually, but just some certain scenes that just stick with you that are so beautiful, and poignant.
Yeah, I'm a video game artist in daytime, so cool. I'm doing environment backgrounds.
Okay.
But I'm also doing lighting. So now I study a lot the lighting in the movies and how you compose. And it's pretty funny because the things that you taught, how the shape connected and stuff, just the value study, just basically study of lighting.
Yeah.
So how you frame a picture and how you compose it and connect shapes together with lighting and shadow. It's the same thing as doing cinematography.
It's all art.
Doing lighting.
It's all art.
Yeah, so it's all connected. So I love watching movie too. Don't have as much time, but it's a great visual reference aside from looking at other paintings.
I agree.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a lot when I'm on the road sometimes by myself in the hotel room, and I'll pause, and then just do a little sketch from it.
Okay.
Pause
Frame study.
Just because there's a certain scene that just kind of caught my eye because of the way it was shot and framed and stuff. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Out of all the places you've done workshop, what's your favorite place out of the past couple of years or so?
Well, I haven't taught a workshop there yet, but England, I shot my DVD there, and I'm going to teach a workshop there soon.
Okay.
And just because the British watercolor artists were so influential on me, how I developed my style, and that landscape just, it just pulled me. I love it. It's so beautiful. There's something about it. I'm not much of a sunny California guy. I'd much prefer the drama and the hillsides and the misty, air of England and the coast down there in Devon and Cornwall. And so, the UK, I love it.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So if you're in England, invite him more. That's where you want to go.
Yep. I'll come anytime.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It was fun.
That was fun.